What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Unsportsmanlike Conduct and our editor, Trevor. Shout out Trevor because he's got us this new technology. And guess what? I can bring in my boy Frank in with us too. So Frank is joining us. What's up, Frank?
What up, guys?
Hey, everyone. Well, thanks again for joining us. We're obviously excited because the divisional round of the NFL playoffs is here. Frank, how you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I mean, we came off of a pretty solid weekend last week in NFL. We went 3-0, so it was pretty exciting. It was good.
Wow, Linemaker Sports went 3-0. Remember, guys, if you're a sports bettor or if you're looking to get into sports betting, Frank's your guy at Linemaker Sports. They know what's going on. Damn, Frank, 3-0. So what was your biggest takeaway from the wild card weekend?
That the Bills are a little susceptible to maybe getting knocked out. Maybe. I mean, they played pretty solid, but they still looked. I don't know. They looked a little shaky, and then it was a little weird because we had in that game we had under 51.5. So it was pretty funny that of course the total comes up to 51, and it all came down to basically at the end of the game they had like that fumble that wasn't a fumble, or they reviewed it and said it wasn't a fumble. I mean, yeah. I don't know. It was kind of crazy, but that was probably the most entertaining game, I'd say, because other than like maybe the Steelers and the Browns game, it wasn't really a game for most of the time because that just was a disaster from the beginning. Yeah. So I'd say maybe probably the Bills game was the best one.
Yeah, I kept waiting for Pittsburgh to come back, and it was like 14-0. I was like, they'll come back. 21-0. I was like, they'll come back. And then, I mean, also my takeaway though was the coaching. I feel like there was so much bad coaching this weekend. And you talk about the Colts game as well. They went for it on that 4th and goal and didn't get it. Right before the half. That gave the Bills a chance to drive back down the field and take the lead. In the first half, I thought the Colts pretty much dominated. Yeah. I was glad to see that the Colts didn't win it at the end because I thought karma came around, because to me that was so evidently a fumble. I thought Pascal got up and then while he got back up without being touched is when he fumbled. They reviewed it and they still
Exactly. I didn't really understand because I was like, I seen the same thing. Like his knee was up off the ground before he got his hand, before the hand was on his back. So I was like, oh, this is clearly a fumble. The game is over. And then they go and review it, and then they come back and say that it wasn't. So I was a little shocked in that. I don't know. It's just weird stuff. Again, with the refs, it's happened all season long. Weird shit.
All season long, definitely. And then how did you do in the Tampa Bay Washington game? Because I know that line was 8.5, and there was a shanked extra point there that was blocked.
Yeah, it was funny. So that was one of the free plays that I think that I gave out in our preview. And when I gave it out, I think the line was at 8 right there when we gave it out. And then it closed. Actually, that line ended up closing at like minus 11 because people were hammering Tampa Bay because Alex Smith all of a sudden wasn't going to play. So if you got an 8, I mean, you got the push. But, you know, I mean, getting it at 11, of course, you ended up losing that, which is kind of funny because it's like, nobody, I don't think, expected Heineke or whatever the hell is that.
Heineken, that's my nickname.
He came in and pretty much balled out. He did pretty well.
Dude, I love calling him Heineken because he looked like a guy that was just drunk as shit out there and had the balls to do anything. Like, like you see those guys outside of a bar that I hammered and like feel like they can take on the world. That's what I feel like I saw this kid do. I mean, he was going off that dive. He dove from like the 4-yard line. He traveled like 15 feet, 12 feet in the air to touch the pylon. Like, he didn't give a shit who he was playing.
He did, yeah. He was going all for it. He said, screw it.
I thought it was funny, though, at the end, when they do the handshakes afterwards, you could see him going up to Brady, and he was, like, waiting for his turn to be, like, crying, like, Mr. Brady, hey, Mr. Brady.
I know. He probably wanted a little autograph or something, definitely.
Yeah, a little photo op.
But Brady, I mean, speaking of Brady, though, Brady balled out, too. He played very well. He looked very good.
So, I mean, obviously, that sets everything up for this weekend. There's so many exciting matchups which we could get to. Anything else that might be on your mind before we get into
really. I mean, I'm looking forward definitely to this week's matchup between Brady and Breeze, though. That's going to be definitely a good one to watch.
Right. All right. Well, then we'll start with the Rams and we can start. Why don't we start? Yeah, let's start with the Rams and the Packers game. We'll go in order.
Yep.
This is the first game of the divisional round. The Packers are waiting. They had a bye last week. They look like the best team in the league, them and the Chiefs, obviously. Now, this game opened up with Green Bay favored by a touchdown, and people are giving the Rams credit from that road win last week in Seattle. that line has moved a little bit. It's now Green Bay by 6.5. What are you looking for here? How do you think Jared Goff's going to do? Obviously, he came off that broken thumb surgery, so I'm kind of...
And, I mean, he looked pretty well coming off of that.
My biggest takeaway from that Rams-Seahawks game...
Yeah, I mean, he looked pretty well. He didn't really look like it affected him that much. Yeah, the Rams defense is definitely something, though.
Packers offense.
Yeah, the Rams defense arguably could probably be the best defense that's left in the playoffs right now. I think they're a solid D. So I mean, when it comes to like Jared Goff, I don't know. He looked fine. I mean, when he went in there was throwing the ball, I mean, he didn't look like really anything was bothering him much. So seems like that. I don't know. When it comes to the Packers, though, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers just seems like he's ready to ball out this year. I mean, so it's kind of tough with this game, and like you're gonna think that you're thinking here, you know. Of course, it's the key number. The Packers are that key number. It's fluctuating between 7 and 6.5. And I don't know. I think that's a lot of points, I think, that Green Bay's given against a number one defense.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously, once you get to the divisional matchup, you don't really expect blowouts. All these teams obviously are there for a reason. I do think the Rams having, Goff coming back from that injury, they're carrying that momentum. Green Bay obviously had the bye week off. Maybe weather plays a factor because Green Bay, they're used to this cold weather where, the Rams are in LA. It's nice and comfortable, but
that's definitely a thing that you need to look out for. Yeah, because I mean, the Rams play in a dome and like a dome / Coliseum, however you want to say it, but they're not used to no frigid, cold, snowing weather. That's for sure. So.
Yeah, and the over-under started at 46.5. It's down to 45.5. I kind of feel that way. I don't think like this will be crazy high scoring, but I'm just scared I would be scared to go the under there because obviously it's that Green Bay offense that is legit. But we'll see.
Definitely, I think you're right though. Something to look at is definitely the weather. We definitely got to see what the weather's going.
Yeah. All right. Well, from that game, we're gonna move on to the Baltimore-Buffalo game. Buffalo's home again, obviously. They picked up the win like we talked about last week against the Colts. Baltimore, though, they were down 10-0 to the Titans. I thought the Titans were going to rout them once it was 10-0 because you've heard all the storylines about Lamar can't bring the team back. The Ravens don't play well from being down. Then, I mean, after they made the 10-3, Lamar had this like 50-yard scramble touchdown.
I know.
It changed everything. And then, again, I mean, there were just so many. I feel like some coaches were scared this weekend on short 4th and 1s here and there, and the Titans had a 4th and 1, I think, or something like that, and they chose to punt. And then the Ravens came back down, got a field goal, and so I don't know. I know you didn't like the Ravens because you were feeling like the Ravens might have been that team that underachieved, but could they be the team that for you in the playoffs overachieves?
Well, I mean, the game was definitely Baltimore really they did show something against the Titans because they were down 10-0 and I thought just like you thought they probably are going to get routed. I was like, oh, here we go. Titans are just going to take over this game and just smash Baltimore. But they so one of our picks that we had this week was Derrick Henry under 125.5 rushing yards. So Baltimore literally went in there and absolutely shut Derrick Henry down. I think he had almost like a whole all-time season low in rushing yards in that game. So I mean,
50, less than 50.
Yeah, they went in there and just completely shut him down. So I mean, that was just showed that their defense is still there. Like they still got that good D. So now they're really going to get challenged because the Titans' offense was pretty good, but Buffalo's offense is crazy. I mean, Buffalo's offense. I mean, they'll throw that ball all over the place. They'll run it. I mean, they don't give a shit. Honestly, they'll just balls to the wall, I feel. So, I mean, this is going to be another big challenge, I think, for Baltimore here because Buffalo, I think when it comes to this case, Baltimore showed more grit than what Buffalo showed against the Colts. Yeah.
Well, I agree. Exactly. And they were on the road as well. And like I said, I mean, maybe Lamar got that swag. I will say, though, I mean, I said this in the last episode, but I want to root for Lamar. I like Lamar. I'm glad he came through. I thought he took a lot of heat for having been so young and overachieved already so much in his career for people used to say that he should be a wide receiver and all this crap. But then watching the Ravens celebrate that interception when they're like stomping on the logo and shit, I hated that shit. I'm like, you won one playoff game in the wild card round. Like, so I wanted the Titans to come back on that defense at that point because it was so annoying. I'm like, there was still like almost 2 minutes left in the game. They're over there like being disrespectful. They got a penalty for it.
Yeah, like, I mean, the problem that I have with that too is that like they were complaining about it when the Titans did it, and then you just go and do the same thing. It's like being a hypocrite.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, like it's like, why would you do that? Harbaugh was saying, oh, it's so disrespectful for you to do something like that, but then his team goes and does the same exact thing.
Right. Yeah, I didn't like that. So, I mean, obviously, I like Lamar. I hope he has a good game, but I kind of hope the Bills take it. You know me, I've liked Buffalo since the beginning pretty much, and I want to see Buffalo, Kansas City. I think that would be an awesome matchup. So, Buffalo is getting 2.5 points. Given 2.5 points. So the Ravens come in as underdogs, and that over/under is right at 50. So, the casinos sure make it tough for us, don't they?
They definitely do. I mean, I don't know. I like the over/under maybe in this game to be looked at because I think this game could be it could end up being some type of a shootout maybe.
I could see that too.
Depending on the weather, of course, in Buffalo. That's another thing. Checking the weather. I mean,
everyone did think the Titans-Ravens game was going to be a shootout too, and luckily for me, I sprinkled a little on the under, and I got that.
Well, that's definitely because I mean, you knew the Titans' game plan going into that game were definitely just to hammer Derrick Henry,
right?
And they were just kind of stuck. As soon as Derrick Henry wasn't getting absolutely anywhere, they were just like, all right, well now we're forced to pass it, and then the Ravens knew that they shut Henry down, so they were like, okay, so now we just got to worry about them passing it, and then they were able to shut that down as well.
It was almost so predictable, but it went the other way because once they went up, like I said, once they got the first touchdown on that A.J. Brown catch, I was like, if the Ravens don't score here, that's it. Is pound Derrick Henry all game long with the lead.
Yeah, exactly.
And they went up 10-0, and I was like, it's a wrap. They're just going to pound Derrick Henry. But obviously the Ravens defense stepped up, and we'll see. But again, that matchup is – all these matchups, honestly, the one I'm least looking forward to is the one we're about to talk about next. But all the other 3 games I'm super pumped about. This next one is the Browns and the Chiefs in Kansas City, and Kansas City's being given 10 points. I mean, I think that's fair, but I also think it's fair to settle down after that Browns win. I
totally agree. I think this is the stupidest game probably of all of them, easily, because what the Browns showed, even though the Browns won and put up 48 points, I mean, to be honest, the Steelers almost came back. They almost came back. It was 28-0, and the Steelers almost came back and really made this a game to where like they almost had a shot. If it wasn't, all they needed was like a defensive stop maybe at the end of the third quarter, and they would have had a shot to come back in that game. So I mean, I didn't see nothing from the Browns that really impressed me, honestly. Their defense looked shitty. Their offense, you really couldn't tell what their offense was because they were playing with short fields the whole entire game. Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I even thought this was more a Steelers undoing than the Browns doing anything. The Browns, by the time Baker Mayfield touched the ball for the first time, they were already winning 7-0, and they were on the Pittsburgh 35-yard line. Yeah, exactly. Because they got a pick from Big Ben. So, and the turnover battle, the Steelers turned the ball over 5 times, 5 Ben Roethlisberger picks, and the Browns didn't have any turnovers. So, with that kind of turnover margin, you should whoop a team's ass. And so, again, I think this was more the Steelers just kind of unraveling. And once the game got out of hand, and there's just so much for them to come back. And I mean, also, I will say I don't expect Mahomes to do as great as Ben did passing yard wise, because I do think the Browns were more of a prevent defense. They started just not allowing for the big play and things like that, so that time would click off the clock. But I mean, I just think the Chiefs are a whole different animal. I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens the other way in this game, and the Chiefs end up winning this game 35-10 or something crazy like that. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, what's interesting about this game is the over-under. I think the over-under is maybe one of the highest totals I've ever seen in a playoff. Yeah, I see that. And it's going up. It started at 56 and it's up to 57. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It's this is a really high total. I mean, damn, they're almost thinking, scored 30 apiece, it gets 60. I mean, they're thinking this is going to be a hell of a shootout. Right. So, I mean, who knows?
just looking at, I mean, we'll get to our free plays later, but that is really high.
Yeah. I mean, the Chiefs, of course, in the playoffs, I think the Chiefs probably are going to be a whole different animal than what they were in the regular season. Like, this is all go mode for all your stars, everything. Like, it's time to go. Like, all right, this is it. So, yeah, I don't see really no messing around by Mahomes or anything like that. I mean, I just think the Chiefs' defense has to step up maybe a little bit. If they can step up a little bit, then this should be a complete steamroll by the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and I mean, I think obviously the game plan is probably going to be here to just stop that Browns running game, put the pressure on Baker. And I just, again, I mean, I'm not trying to take credit away from Baker. He came through last week. He played pretty much flawless football. He did play great. But I think that Steelers team, just aside from the injuries and then all the cockiness that went into that team, like, that's what you get. That's what happens. And,
and the way that I see it is that if we go and restart that game with the Steelers and we go 0-0 and it doesn't start the way that it started, I think the Steelers win that game.
Right. I mean, the week before, week 17, the Browns won by 2 against the Steelers backups. So, and you got to think about it too. When the score is so lopsided, you know the Steelers are playing for the run because they know that the Browns are going to want to run the football to waste some clock. So when that's happening, obviously Baker, it makes the passing game a little bit easier. So I think if in a more evenly matched 0-0 game, I just don't see the Browns and Baker really coming through. But good for Cleveland. I mean, obviously, it was, I think, their first win in like 178 years or something in the playoffs. Or something crazy that I'm really exaggerating. I'm just saying, like, I'm happy for Cleveland. It's nice that their football team gets something, but I think there's a little bit of an overreaction. I mean, I like that the line's at 10 because it is a playoff game, but I wasn't going to be surprised if this was KC like minus 12.5 or whatever.
Yeah. And I think it'll probably get up to that before game time. You're right.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to surpass this key number of 10 right now. So it's probably going to get to, like you said, maybe 11. Maybe it'll fluctuate to get to 12, maybe.
Yeah. All right. And then the final game is Tampa Bay and New Orleans. So Tampa Bay, we talked about, they, got smacked around by drunk Heineken man, but were able to hold it together, pull through. Brady played pretty solid football. That team, even in that game, I just feel like they didn't turn it up yet. Like, they're still like sleepwalking through the first playoff game because they have so many weapons, and that defense they have weapons too on defense. So I don't know what's going on there, but I think the defense can play way better. And then you have New Orleans, who, to me, if you ask me, they won 21-9, really 21-3 against the Bears because that Jimmy Graham touchdown at the end.
Yeah, that one did
super sick, by the way.
Yeah.
But whatever. That was literally a walk-off touchdown at the last play of the game. Yeah. But that game should have been closer. I watched the game, and that Wims drop was the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was huge, right through his hands.
It was the perfect play call, perfectly executed. Trubisky couldn't have, that was his best throw of his whole career, probably. It was exactly where it needed to be. And the dude just, flat out dropped it after making an awesome catch earlier in that drive. I think it was like a play or two before.
Honestly, it's crazy.
So
in that game, we had the Saints -9, and while I was watching that game too, I'm thinking the whole time, like, the Saints went up 7-0, and I'm like, I don't think they're probably going to cover this 9. Honestly, I was like, because the Bears defense was playing pretty well, like they were doing pretty good against it. And I was like, they're actually stopping the Saints. Really, the Saints are just having their way with them. Like, they're stopping them. All the Bears needed to do is their offense to wake up a little bit, and this would have really been a close game. So, it's like that. I don't know. I wasn't too impressed by how the Saints played. Like, the Saints got the job done, but I was probably more impressed by the Saints defense. But I don't know if it's the Saints defense or if it's just how bad the Chicago offense is.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that obviously that drop tells a lot. I think it's the Bears offense because also just, that was the perfect play call. They needed a trick play to get that kind of, and even then it wasn't like the guy was like wide open. It was a trick play and the DB was like a yard or two behind him, but still that changed the whole momentum to the game. And with a side note, did you at all try to watch this game on Nickelodeon?
I actually switched over. Yeah, I did. I switched over because I was interested in it just to check it out and
Yeah.
see what was up. And I thought it was kind of funny how like they get a touchdown and then they slimed everybody.
Yeah, and then obviously I haven't watched. I stopped watching cartoons honestly when I was probably like 8 years old because I started watching sports and ESPN was the only thing I watched.
Yeah.
But then during the commercials and all these SpongeBob, like what the hell? Like I haven't seen any of this in years, so I was like, Jesus, like it's either the graphics, but it looks like. I mean, I've never done acid for the record, but I imagine that's probably what it feels like. Like the colors were so bright and the things were
I just thought it was funny because I was thinking like I thought a little bit more honestly. I thought they were gonna like throw SpongeBob on the field and shit and have him running around and make it look like he's tackling people. But it still was a little bit entertaining and it was kind of funny. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to do there. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to get the younger generation to tune into the NFL. Maybe I don't know. I mean, I guess
maybe
they're trying.
Yeah, I watched it for like from halfway through the second quarter till halftime, and then I was done with it.
Yeah, me too.
I needed Romo and Nance back, but I did think it was kind of funny. Like I got to see the little like slime touchdown thing because there was like a fumble recovered by the Saints that they ran back and they ran the slime canyons just to like not be a touchdown because the guy was like down or something. But it was cool. The graphics and stuff was cool, but I don't know. Like it's just getting like. Also, I do think they could use a little SpongeBob. You know, like when they kick the kickoff, the guy that runs to grab the little thing. Yeah. Just have either a guy in a SpongeBob costume. I think that'd be hilarious. Imagine him tripping or something. So, but I mean, the graphic stuff is getting freaking freaky, man. Like all these like 8K, 10K cameras that they got on the field, it looks like Madden. 100.
Yeah, I know. It was pretty great. Every time they switch that 8K camera, I'm always like, damn, that was just. It looks like a continuous portrait mode.
Exactly. And there's one. Did you see the one of Aaron Donald like warming up?
Yeah.
It's like, literally it's Madden. I'm like, what the hell is this? So
crazy.
Anyway, crazy. That game right now, New Orleans started off being favored by 3.5. Now people are putting money on Tampa here, so the Saints are favored by a field goal. The over/under is at 52. So obviously those numbers are a little tough. This
is my favorite game to watch. I think for this weekend. I really want to see. These are basically two goats at quarterback. You got Breeze and you got Brady, like two of the all-time passing yards leaders, all-time touchdown leaders. Like they're both going against each other playoff time. This should be great. Honestly, it should be a great game.
Yeah, I'm super pumped for this game. Obviously, same storyline, the Breeze matchup. And also, like I said, Tampa, to me, it feels like they just need to turn it up one more level. And I think this is the game maybe that happens. They have linebackers. They have all these guys on defense that I think could just care. Like, I mean, I don't know what's going on, but for them to give up, what they were giving up to the Washington football team is like, for a veteran team chasing a Super Bowl like that, I just didn't think that was like the defense that I expect from them. So maybe this is the game. People are banging the over in this game, expecting a lot out of the offense. But
I don't know about that because honestly, you got these two defenses are pretty solid. So
right,
yeah,
that's why I think this is the week they step it up, and we'll see. I mean, obviously, it's getting tougher. We're down to the last 8 teams. So I don't know. That game, like you said, is my favorite, and the Ravens and Bills game I cannot wait for. I think this week the NFL actually got it right in their scheduling. They left
they did
for later in the afternoon. So, I don't know if we should, but I think maybe it's time we should give out our free plays after looking at these. What are you thinking here? Where's your head at, Frank?
My head is probably I don't know. I mean. It's pretty tough because it's hard when you only got 4 games to choose from. So, honestly, what I like, and this is probably going against what everybody is betting right now, obviously. And like we just talked about, I kind of like the Saints game under 52 right now.
Okay.
Because I do think they're both got pretty good defenses. I mean, they're not like no slouch defenses. Like the Saints defense is showed to be almost one of the best in the NFL this season. So they're actually pretty good defense. And like you said, Tampa Bay's defense, I think, just needs to turn it up a little bit. And then they'll be right up there as one of the best defenses too.
Yeah. I don't see it being higher than like a 28-24 game. So I kind of agree with you on that one. My free play, I'm also going to go under. And I'm also going against what people are thinking. I'm going to the Browns-Chiefs game, 57. To me, that's so high. And like I said, I think this is going to be a blowout. So I think I'm definitely going under 57. I would think this is going to be like a 30-10 game or something like that, or 34-13. So
now I'll throw something at you that I just seen that's a little bit of maybe a shocker for that high total. So totals in the playoffs that are 56 or higher have went over 88% of the time. So that's a pretty shocking number there. We just went against what you just gave them.
Oh no, I should have known that before.
I know that's
well,
a pretty high. That's a high number though.
My backup replay was going to be the Rams and Green Bay over, just because I. But I'm not. Nah, I'm sticking to it. The 12%. There's a 12% there.
Definitely, there still is, yeah.
I'm still going under. I don't know how Baker and the Browns are gonna. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm underestimating the Browns, but I think the Steelers were just a fraud. I think, and I don't even know why they rested their guys week 17. I would have played them. Like they. I don't know. That's like a team that I feel like felt too entitled. And I'm just too scared to bet anything on the Baltimore-Buffalo game because it could go either way.
Yeah, that's one of those 50-50 games that definitely could go either way.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm excited. Exciting games coming up. I asked you last week, but I'll ask you again. What's the one team that you could see coming through as an upsetting the favorite here?
Probably, I'd have to say Baltimore.
Yeah, I 100%. Yeah. That's the only one I agree with.
Like, there's no way in hell I see the Browns beating the Chiefs.
Right.
So that's not happening. I mean, the Bucs and Saints game, that's another one I think is a 50-50 shot game. That it could go either way. Honestly, either of those teams could win that game. And, I mean, Green Bay and the Rams, I don't know. I mean, it's very hard I can't see that as a 50-50 game because it's very hard to go into Lambeau Field and win a playoff game. So
I guess this is what I'm going to do. This is probably the better question. Could take away the Bills and the Ravens game and the Bucks and New Orleans game because obviously those teams seem pretty evenly matched. I think if the underdog wins, it's not that big of a letdown for the favorite because they're barely favorites. And if the favorite loses, it's kind of understandable because it's like, yeah, Lamar was really balling. And if the Saints lose, it's like, well, it's Brady and the Bucks.
Yeah.
But from the other two games, the Rams and the Packers and the Browns and the Chiefs, which of the two underdogs there do you see winning? And which of the two favorites faces the most heat if they lose?
Definitely the Chiefs. Definitely with the Chiefs because if you go and lose to the Browns, I mean, you're a Super Bowl favorite. Honestly, you're a Super Bowl favorite. So it's like you go and lose to the Browns at home. I don't know. I mean, y'all need to go and reevaluate yourself as a team, honestly. And then I'm gonna flip it there and say, of course, the least likely I do think is the Browns. I think the Browns, I'll just go out on a limb here, 0.0% chance I think that they even have a shot at winning this game because I just think it's a complete mismatch. And the Browns didn't show nothing against that Steelers game, and the Steelers lost that game. The Browns didn't win that game, so. Yeah. That just showed nothing to me. And then with the Rams and the Packers game, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the Rams. I don't know. I just don't think they're. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the Rams for some reason. I don't like their offense. I don't think Jared Goff is that good of a quarterback. I just never thought he was.
So I agree with you there on the Browns being the biggest upset if they ended up winning because I also don't think there's a chance that they beat Mahomes and the Chiefs. And I do think the Rams have that defense that, I mean, the Packers are good, but I do think we've seen it in the Tampa Bay game. If they go down early and Aaron Rodgers makes a couple mistakes, he kind of just he just falls out of it. There's some statistic where he's actually not that great at coming from behind. If you actually look at the numbers. So obviously the biggest upset between the Rams and the Browns would be the Browns, no doubt. But I will disagree with you on the pressure if one of these favorites loses. And maybe I'm biased because obviously I raised myself to hate the Packers. But I think Green Bay, if they lose this game, it's not like if the Chiefs lose, obviously it's like, wow, the Super Bowl champs get knocked out by the Browns. But there's so many excuses. It could be like they had one bad game, the ball didn't bounce their way, they came off the bye week, and they weren't really. I mean, they rested their starters in week 17, so they've had 2 pretty much bye weeks.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Mahomes in 3 weeks. So, the storyline will be like, was that a mistake? Or all these storylines that will be like, we know the better team here was the Chiefs, and they just laid an egg.
Yeah.
But Green Bay, obviously the storyline there is like they've had Favre and Rodgers for like 30 years and only have 2 Super Bowls to come from that. Aaron Rodgers only has 1 Super Bowl, and every year they have a great regular season, and then they get knocked out, and usually they get spanked like they did against the 49ers. So it's one of these games where I think if they go down early, the pressure is on the Packers because, I mean, what more can you ask for? And Rodgers is getting older. At least with Mahomes, it's like, all right, you have the foundation set. That super deal that he got hasn't kicked in yet. It kicks in next season, I believe. So, there's not – maybe the only reevaluation for the Chiefs is like, hey, we just need to focus better next year. We had a bad game. But in Green Bay, it's going to be like, hey, the same shit just happened again. And I think there's pressure on that team to finally make a Super Bowl. They showed everything, I think, that says they're a Super Bowl team. And if they don't get it done this week, at least next week, if it's Brady or Breeze, like I said, then they're not overly favored. So it's like, all right, they'll probably even be maybe I don't even know, but they might be an underdog, let's say. Who knows? But I think that'll be an even matchup. So if they lose there, it's like, man, like that sucks. This team keeps running into like the great teams. Yeah. But they haven't had that great team that they run into, So I don't know. That's why I think that would be my most surprising.
Aaron Rodgers definitely is going to have to step up and show something here in the playoffs. Definitely. Yeah. He had a great regular season. So it's like, yeah, you're right. You got to step up in the playoffs too, man. You can't just be a regular season hero.
If Jared Goff can just play some solid football, man, this has upset written all over it. Jalen Ramsey shut down DK Metcalf. You put him on Devontae Adams and hold him to 40 yards.
Well, I don't. DK Metcalf still had 2 touchdowns. I don't know.
Very true. Very, very true. I will say the second one was a garbage time touchdown, and that first one was on a broken play that Russ somehow escaped. I can make excuses, obviously, but you're right. DK still came through and had 2 touchdowns. So, we'll see. But anyway, that's this weekend. I'm super pumped for that. Can't wait. And then we're coming down already the championship weekend, and then 2 more weeks till the Super Bowl. So sad time because the season's almost over, but exciting at the same time to get to see who's going to move on. Before we leave you, I know you got a little annoyed again on the NBA side of things, so I'm going to give you the floor, let you go on for a couple minutes real quick.
All right, here we go again. So, same thing we talked about last time, guys. Kyrie Irving again. This boy hasn't played a goddamn game since we talked about it last time. And then he's saying, again, it's because of something that happened with the stuff that happened at the Capitol building. What the hell does that have to do with you going out there to play basketball, man?
Did he say that? Sorry to interrupt you. I missed that. Is that what the reason is?
Yeah, that's the reason that he said. He said it's because of what happened at the Capitol building. He just doesn't want to play. Weak-ass excuse. It's a weak-ass excuse. He just doesn't want to play basketball. That's it. And honestly, like Stephen A. Smith went and said today, he said Kyrie should come out and just say, I retire from the game of basketball. I'm not going to play anymore. I don't see why he wouldn't, because it's like, what are you doing, man? What do you like? I don't understand. Even Kevin Durant, you could tell Kevin Durant's probably a little annoyed too, because he's probably like, what the hell, man? Like, I thought we agreed to come to this place to play together, and now all of a sudden you're pulling this shit now to where like you don't want to play, and now I'm out there by myself with this Nets squad, and like, what the hell's going on? Like, it's stupid. It's just Kyrie seems like that little annoying person that just is like, he finds every little excuse to not play basketball. Like, honestly, I feel like he's not going to play anymore again, and then he'll pop out and say, because of the restrictions of the COVID thing that Adam Silver said, he don't want to play basketball because of that now too.
Yeah, well, on top of that, there was a whole thing that he was at his dad's, I think, birthday party. His dad and his sister have birthdays this week or something I saw. So part of me is like, you're just using that as an excuse so you can just like be with your family for their birthdays, and hide away from your basketball responsibilities.
Yeah.
And also, there was that same report that Stephen A was talking about. Apparently, there's something where the Nets could terminate his contract. And I'm sorry, how much longer do you go if you're the Nets and you're like, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. Kyrie, we're terminating your deal. Here we go. James Harden, let's bring you in. Harden and Durant. You be the point guard now, James Harden. And that's what I would do if I were the Nets. Because at this point, what do you think Kyrie's value is? I was talking about it with some friends, and I'm like, hey, who right now is going to take Kyrie for the money that he's making? Because all these crappy teams, they have a point guard that they're trying to mold, whether it's LaMelo Ball in Charlotte. You know, the Bulls have Kobe White, who's been playing much better. So I don't know that there's a crappy team that needs a point guard that bad. And if there's a veteran team or some team that's like in the middle that needs a point guard, why would you bring Kyrie in? Like, his value's dropped so much, in my opinion, that I don't think, like, if his contract ended now, he's not getting a max deal from anyone.
Exactly.
So
I mean, honestly, I don't even think he should be in the league. I think Nets should cut ties with him. I mean, I'm embarrassed behind me right now. You can see I got the goddamn Kyrie jersey behind me from Boston. Like, I got his jersey up from Boston and everything, and this guy has completely disappointed me, like, to the max. Like, what the hell happened, bro? Like, I mean, you went and, like, you were arguably the best point guard in the league, and then you just don't even want to play anymore. Like,
seriously, how many teams has he, you know, Cleveland, he's out. Boston, he's out. You know, now obviously with Brooklyn. So I don't know, man. I think it's time, like Stephen A said, maybe he needs to retire or take a year off or whatever. But if I'm the Nets, clearly I'm like, yo, like, this is my chance. Like, I'm out of this contract. Yeah. You know, get him out. Also, on top of all his, like, drama, he's not really that healthy all the time.
He's not.
So that contract just looks like a mistake to me. Like, I'm out. Like, take advantage of that if you're Brooklyn and get out of that deal. And, I mean, I know it sucks because Harden's being a drama queen himself, but I'd bring in Harden, you know? And then you match up Harden, he's going to be motivated. The only team that I could see taking on Kyrie is a team like the Clippers, because they're going to be under this impression of, like, all right, with Kawhi and with PG or whatever, like, at least, but they don't have assets left.
Yeah, I know.
So they can't trade for him. So that's why I'm like, if he gets cut and he can sign with any team, I think the Clippers are the only ones that will take a chance or something like that. But even the Clippers, after seeing all these teams he's ruining, he's just unreliable.
Exactly. Like, he's a liability. He's no more of an asset whatsoever to a team. So I would ditch him if I was the Nets and let somebody else deal with his problems that he does, because he's too much. Like, play the game of basketball, man. What the hell are you doing? I mean, I don't understand. It's crazy. And then it was funny because I seen that he went, when he said the thing about LeBron, I don't know if it was aimed at LeBron or whatever, when he said, like, oh, I'm finally with somebody that can take a clutch shot, and I know that I don't have to take the last shot of the game or whatever. And then it was funny because, like, the other night or last week, one of the last times he played, they had a shot to win the game, and Kyrie missed a shot, and then he passed it to Durant. Durant misses the shot as well, so it's like everybody trashed him out on that. That. It was like, well, I guess you still haven't found anybody that can take a shot other than you.
Yeah, man, he's just in the real world, he would have been fired long ago, and so
easily. I mean, easily. There should be no difference. There should be no difference. This guy should get fired, just like anybody else would get fired in the real world if they didn't go to work for 2 weeks because they just didn't feel like it.
I agree. I think it's Brooklyn, if I were them, take advantage of this opportunity. But, well, Frank, we have exciting games to look forward to. Obviously, the divisional round is here. We will check back in next week, see what happened there, and look forward to the 2 games that are going to determine the Super Bowl team. So I can't wait for that. Shout out our man, Trevor. Trevor over here hooking us up with this technology that us old school guys don't know much about, but Trevor's the real deal. So thank you. Look at this, the bottom line ticker. We got it all. So
we got it all.
Moving on up in the world.
Yep. Let's try to get Kyrie getting thrown in a trash can or something next one.
All right. Well, until next time, thanks for tuning in. And remember, subscribe. And if you are looking to gamble, Linemaker Sports is where it's at. See you next time.